Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so week 2 of Eternity of Pain, and this time it's Icarus, and I actually really did enjoy this fight. I think it's complicated, I think it's extremely interesting, and I think it is extremely skill based because you can do it with quite a lot of champions with like a specific type of playstyle that I'm also going to try and show with this Professor X gameplay right here. But before I show you the first solo and then how I tackled it on the stream, let's break this fight down properly. What happens in this fight? What makes it hard? Well, first of all, Mighty Charge obviously adds an extra level of difficulty, which means that he's going to be consistently purifying all the debuffs, which immediately kind of shuts down and out quite a lot of champions. Also, Ragnarok can fuel the fire in combination pretty much mean that you cannot ever parry stun him or he immediately goes unstoppable. If he already was unstoppable, he's going to go unblockable and it's going to be quite bad time in general. On top of that, if you trigger any of his immunities, the same thing happens. He goes unstoppable, or if he was unstoppable, he goes unblockable. Ultimately, make a stand means that you have to knock him down a lot in order to be able to do damage. And then finally, special burst lockdown. Well, that pretty much limits Liquid Courage double edge masteries. So all of that is quite tricky. But there is one hidden thing that I initially was quite unaware of as well when dealing with Icarus. Now, most of us who have some superficial knowledge of Icarus as a champion are aware of the power detonation debuff lasting for 15 seconds when struck by a medium attack. If power detonation expires, you take a burst of damage. If you use a special attack within that period, there is no damage basically. So that means that you have to be able to access your special attacks frequently, or you cannot use your medium attacks. Well, that is made harder because you cannot also really use your light attacks for most part, because either hitting his block in light attacks or getting hit by his light attacks gives him energize. And if you're using a Mystic champion, it's fine. He's gonna get some more power, but that's not a big deal. With Mystics, you kind of want him to often get those energizes because that means more buffs to nullify for MD. But if you're using anybody that is not a Mystic, if he has 7 or more energized buffs whenever he activates his special attack, you will take a burst of damage. And that is the confusing part for me as well, but definitely for a lot of people who didn't understand why when you do the mutant objective, you randomly just take a ton of damage. That is happening when he has 7 or more energized buffs. So that is kind of like the big problem there. So first, let's check out the Professor X solo. Now, I struggled with this one a bit on the stream. I got tilted and it is actually quite silly. I always kept making the silliest mistakes, but the biggest problem was I was trying to get that level 2 nuke, which eventually I kind of abandoned in this run and it worked out perfectly. The entire strategy with most champions, to be honest, is just bait out heavy attacks and punish Icarus' heavy attack with your own heavy attack. That is pretty much it. If you stick to heavy attacks, then the fight's extremely easy. You do not get that power detonation. He doesn't get any more energizes. I actually gave him 1 energize on purpose because that makes it easier for me to push him to special 1 and punish his special 1. That is just quite that simple. With Professor X, you need to make sure that you dash back further away than you initially think. You need to have like 2 full dash backs in order to outrange that. And I personally here just started building up prowesses. Basically, when I was nearly at 2 bars of power, I would build up the 5 prowesses. Obviously, if you have played Professor X ever, you probably should know that double prowess trick by now, where you charge a heavy attack, and then you use a special attack and start charging heavy attack again. You basically can build up double the prowesses. So I'm going to use 3 special attacks, and I'm going to get all the way up to 5 prowesses, and then I'm going to refresh them. Now, this fight isn't going to go perfect and smooth. I think I'm going to lose my first set of prowesses, unfortunately, by, a tiny bit of a second. But the entire point of entire fight is pretty much this. You just kind of counter his heavies with your own heavies and counter his specials with your heavy attacks. And then you can play the fight at your own pace. You don't need to worry about any detonation buffs. You don't need to worry about him damaging you when you throw special attacks here. This is the reason why I actually lose my prowess buffs, because I didn't realize how quickly, well, how close I was to expiring of my prowesses, and I unfortunately there lost all of my prowesses initially. But it's fine, we're just gonna take a bit longer. Other than that, this fight went fairly smooth. I do think I make a mistake at some point, but you know, it's not the biggest deal. And again, as I said, I just kind of abandoned the idea of trying to nuke him down with level 2 and power boosts. And I think actually my power boosts kind of ended up expiring in this fight because I had them active on stream. And I don't think I reapplied them afterwards. So here I'm just throwing level 1 and block in order to, again, to refresh my prowesses, not to lose them. And that's going to be pretty much the entire fight. I'm just going to want to try and make sure that I do not drop my prowess, and that's it. And other than that, again, just punish his special attacks with my own heavy attack, and then the fight is going to become fairly mundane. We're going to see that I'm still sticking actually with my perfect yellow bar for a very long time, and I'm just playing the heavy game, utilize the falters when I can, and then bait out his level 1s. Again, that one energize buff on him is actually very, very useful, because that means I can push him to special attack easier, and it just gives me an extra thing to counter, kind of. So here I am trying again to refresh my prowesses because they were nearly expiring. So I'm all the way up at 7, and I'm slowly going to end up building more and more. I did take a level 1 to the face a tiny bit there, but it's not the biggest problem. Here I try to go for my level 2 nuke, but I do not know necessarily what happens here. And I'm gonna, well, I'm not gonna build up to level 2 afterwards, after this again. But we are fine with that. We're just gonna keep building up prowess. At this point, we are doing plenty of damage, but the strategy is fairly simple, fairly visible. You want Icarus to basically have 1 till 6 energized buffs, keep him under 7, most importantly, and then just counter his heavies, counter his special attacks with heavy attacks of your own. And in this type of manner, you can do this fight with virtually anyone. Anyone that can counter his special attack and his heavy attack with heavy attack of their own can be used to win this fight. Obviously, if it's lower ranked champion with smaller damage output, the fight's going to take significantly longer. But still, it is pretty much doable with most of the champions in the game. That's why I like this fight, actually. It's very tricky. It kind of takes away your parry stance. It takes away your mediums to a degree, unless you can spam special attacks. It takes away your lights, unless you're using mystics. And then you're kind of left with heavies. And I don't know, I very much enjoyed this fight. I think it's brilliant. And here we're going to see that, again, I'm just going to charge up all the way to 100, drop a level 1. He has the protection on, but it's not the biggest deal. 20 prowesses there. Connect this one, refresh those 20, go for 21, and 56k crit to finish it off. So Professor X had a nice solo. Now, when it goes to what I did on stream, my first solo was with Symbiote Supreme. It is basically just a huge special 3 spam where you purposely want to use as many light attacks as you can in order to give Icarus as many buffs as you can, and then, you know, nullify them, do damage, and just do it all over again. That's virtually the entire fight. Just spam your level 3s. This is a rank 2 Symbiote Supreme. It does not have to be awakened. You do want to have Mystic Dispersion active, and that's about it. Just bait out his level 1s, and then use your special 3s and special 2s and whatever else you want, and it's a very, very easy fight. Obviously, this fight is also absolutely cheesable with Ronan. Any Ronan that's awakened can do this fight, because you can get him to 10 buffs, and with those 10 buffs, you just infinitely stun him. That's it. You just stun him infinitely. That's all you do. You just keep stunning the boy. Now at some point, yeah. You keep stunning, you keep smacking him. There we go. Ronan can do this, obviously, without much problem, but Ronan, unfortunately, doesn't give you any objectives done. Now, for next objective, I think I got the fight done in my 3rd try or so with Magic. I think here, this fight, it lasted a bit, but I'm going to show the base idea with Magic. And instead of going with level 2 rotation, I actually ended up going with my special 3 kind of setup. And with Magic, the idea is that I want to get him to 10 energize buffs, bait out his special 3, bait out his level 1, and then use my special 3. Special 3 nullifies all the buffs that he has active, and obviously that gives me a ton of power back immediately. And that's virtually all you do. You just get him to 10 energizes by hitting his block or just hitting as many lights as you can. But then I noticed that the protection is kind of hindering me, and I realized that if I punish his level 1 with my heavy attack, then the fight started going much quicker. So that was kind of like the new strategy there. I wanted to get him to 10 energizes, and before I use my special 3, I wanted to make sure that I knock him down in order to disable that protection. And then again, the fight went much quicker. Magic can do this fight very effectively, very easily. So again, here, just dash back, use a heavy, knock him down, disable protection, use a level 3, rinse and repeat. So that was my strategy, how I got in the control denial objective. And we can see it's very easy because now I'm immediately close to 3 bars of power back up again. Only thing I need to do is build up those energizes and be done with it. So now I'm gonna again get him to 10 energize. I'm gonna bait out his special 1. This time around I couldn't because I would have had that power detonation, but it's fine. It's not the biggest deal. So we didn't do too much damage with this special 3. But that is the rotation basically. Just make sure he gets all of the energized buffs active there. So I'm gonna knock him down here. Nah, unfortunately that knockdown was a bit premature. So here we're gonna knock him down again. Disable protection, level 3, and be done with it. That is MD5 though. So we did that with Magic there, and then I tried out Captain Britain, and then I started playing with mutants, I think. Strife tried out, he did alright. Archangel can do alright as well, but the rest of the stream is pretty much me just struggling with Professor X. I am not the greatest Professor X player. I take no shame in absolutely admitting to that. But let's get to the main point, right? Let's get to the main point. Well, first and foremost, do not forget that tomorrow we're going to be announcing winners of week 1 community challenge in the 3 categories that we had published. Those were fastest unboosted solo, lowest PI solo, and meme/funniest solo. 3 people will be winning $100, and obviously the new challenges are coming as well. I think I'm going to be keeping the same categories here. Check out the Evizon giveaway video if you haven't seen it already. I will leave all the links and everything else in the video description. But if you think you're that very good at the game, you can win $100. So best of luck with that. Right. So let's just go over all 3 of these. So control denial. I think Claire is one of the best options. Professor X is virtually the only champion that you can get in mutant and control denial. So Professor X is definitely a very solid option to get 2 objectives out of the way from the get-go. Magic, obviously I did it with Magic. I showed how it's done. Dr. Voodoo definitely can exploit those buffs that Icarus has as well. But obviously you do have to be wary of Mighty Charge, which will make it trickier, and you do need to be careful of how much MD you have active on you. At the same time, I do think Mangog can do this fight extremely well, especially because he does extra damage on his heavy attacks, and then with level 3s he can heal, and level 2 has some power control. I think Mangog should be a quite good option. Psylocke is exceptional option, because if you do happen to have ranked up Psylocke, you can just make sure that you completely power lock him, and then the fight's yours. Then you can just dash back, intercept as much as you want. I accidentally wrote Professor X twice, so I need to take him out from the second list there. They also do think that Wong would work very well if you do happen to have one already. And I think Yellow Jacket could be quite cool because of how much he spams special attacks because of your high energy resistance, because of your extra damage that you can do. I think it's going to be quite a long fight, but I do think Yellow Jacket can get it done as well. I haven't tried it yet myself. Symbiote objective, I think Symbiote Supreme is by far the best one. I think Anti-Venom is probably the second best one, because with Anti-Venom you can use Deaccelerate. Actually, maybe not. Anti-Venom might not work as well because he's going to be shrugging off all the debuffs. My bad, I completely blanked on that one. So, I'm not sure if Anti-Venom would work well, to be honest. I am really not too sure on that then now. So we're going to delete him now. Somebody can correct me. We can add him back in, but I do not think that there are too many great options for Symbiote Supreme. If I would, sorry, for Symbiotes. If I would not, oh, I need to add null. There we go. If I would not use Symbiote Supreme, or if I would not have Symbiote Supreme, I think Venompool is probably the, oh no, null is again going to suffer because his debuffs are going to get purified. I would definitely put rest of my eggs in Venompool basket because he's a ramp up champion, and once you do ramp him up, you will be doing, you know, substantial amount of damage. And then there's Venom, which, you know, also can still benefit just like Venompool from that level 1 nullify in order to regenerate, in order to recover some of the health when you can. But those would be significantly harder fights to do. Fortunately, with Symbiotes, I don't think there are that many great options. We can take a look at again at all of the Symbiotes in the game. I will pull them up just in a second. Right here, and yeah, Symbiote Supreme is only Mystic one, and then the rest of them quite heavily rely on debuffs for the most part. Maybe this guy, I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure on that. But yeah, I think Venompool is probably the second best option then and there. And aside from that, we have mutants, which I do think that Professor X is one of the best options. Then we have Rogue and Psylocke. Psylocke also manages 2 objectives in Control Denial category, so that's quite cool. Archangel is definitely an option. The key is getting your Icarus cornered, and then, you know, hopefully when he throws plenty of special attacks, you do take some hits on the block as well if you need be, get those poisons on. But the key is kind of getting and keeping him cornered. Then you can shut off quite a lot of nodes. I will be trying probably that solo in a bit just for fun as well. Kitty can do it, but it's going to be a very, very long fight with Kitty. However, Kitty obviously can bypass quite a lot of damage whilst phasing. And then I tried out Strife myself. There's very interesting interaction, but Strife can get rid of that passive unstoppable. And when you throw the level 1, it's going to be very interesting because you try to shock Icarus. He's immune to it, so he goes unstoppable. But if you have any charges, then you nullify that unstoppable and you do have a passive stun active on you. So I do think it is doable with Strife as well. But that is about it. Overall, I definitely enjoyed this challenge. I liked it a lot. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm going to catch you guys later. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the